What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? This is Maximus Keys back with a brand new episode of your favorite show, Genre Evolution. I hope everybody is doing great today, and I hope different things continue to be positive in your life. Before we speak on the history of Bobby Byrd, I need everyone to like, subscribe, and share this video with everybody that you know. A lot of people who are fans of R&B, funk, and even hip-hop is crazy if they have never heard of Bobby Byrd. When it comes to music history, it doesn't take a genius to know who the godfather of soul is, James Brown. However, it does take some kind of historian to know who the backbone of James Brown's career was, and even a musical icon to help contribute to hip-hop, Mr. Bobby Byrd. But how did Bobby Byrd exactly contribute to the music industry? Let's talk about it. Bobby Howard Byrd, who was the backbone of James Brown's career, was born on August 15, 1934, in Toccoa, Georgia. Bobby would grow up in a very religious background, where his family would actually be members of the church congregation. Bobby would get his musical start singing for the local church choir with a gospel group called the Zioneers. Then he would later on start singing for another church group called the Starlighters back in the 50s. But back in 1952, Bobby had performed and sang with the gospel group, the Starlighters, at a juvenile delinquent center, and he would meet James Brown during a friendly baseball game at the juvenile delinquent center. And both James and Bobby were teenagers too, and James at the time was actually serving time for robbery. And ever since, James and Bobby became best friends right then and there. And Bobby's family would even help take in James Brown to help him get back on his feet after he got out on parole. The group would end up changing their name to the Flames, and James would actually ask Bobby if he could be a part of the group. And James actually became a drummer originally in the Flames, but he eventually decided that he wanted to be the lead singer due to the fact that he felt that lead singers got more attention from the women, even though Bobby was the original lead singer of the Flames. Bobby would even say himself, "I didn't need him in competition, I needed him with me. That's why I worked so hard to get him over to my group." In 1956, Clint Brantley signed as the group's manager, and with Johnny Terry and Nash Cox on board, the group would officially become the Famous Flames. They would eventually sign to Federal Records, which was a label that was connected to King Records, and they would get started on their first record titled Please, 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 which was co-written by Bobby Byrd, and the lead singer of the song was James Brown. And instead of the record being titled The Famous Flames, it was titled James Brown and the Famous Flames instead of the whole entire group. The guys felt disrespected, and after 3 whole sessions, the group eventually dispersed. The other members without James Brown would even try changing their names to Byrd's Drops of Joy, but they would find very little success within that career change. Eventually, James Brown would actually convince the guys to reform as the Famous Flames, only this time they would be James Brown's backup singers, including their other affiliates who were the backing band. The singers would feature Bobby Byrd, Baby Lloyd, and Bobby Bennett will be the background singers for the group. The brand new version of The Flames would actually be seen on The Ed Sullivan Show and many other performances such as The Apollo, and even the film The Ski Party back in the 60s. Bobby Byrd would even help write another hit for James Brown and the Famous Flames, titled Lost Someone. However, it was only James Brown who was allowed to sing on the track. And while James Brown was being pushed up to the forefront, it was Bobby Byrd and the Famous Flames who did not get any credit on any of the album covers. And it was because of that, a lot of audiences and fans who would buy the records would actually think that the backing vocals was James Brown, when in all actuality, it was the Famous Flames. The group / the band would actually end eventually in 1968. But Bobby Byrd would stick by his friend's side. Bobby would later on be James's right-hand man musically and would co-write some of James's biggest songs ever known, one of them being Get On Up, Sex Machine. Bobby was even on the track being the hype man on the song, keeping the energy of the music alive. But at the time, he was not getting any of the credit that he deserved. He wasn't even getting any of the money from the song either. Bobby would say in the interview, "One of the biggest records we had, Sex Machine, that was my voice on there. But my name is not on the record. It's James Brown, Sex Machine. But I had a big part to do with it because I wrote it." Bobby would only get paid a salary as a performer for James Brown, but not money from the records.
We were making $75,000, $80,000 to $90,000 a night. I was making $900 a week.
Byrd was even involved in hiring Bootsy Collins and his brother Catfish Collins to the James Brown Band back in 1970. Eventually in life, both James and Bobby would start a label called People Records, which featured many other artists, but a lot of people don't even know that it was Bobby Byrd who also had a part to do with finding the label. But it was this label he was able to release one of his biggest hits, I Know You Got Soul, which hit number 30 on the Billboard R&B charts. A few of my favorite songs by Bobby would have to be Hot Pants, I'm Coming, You've Got to Change Your Mind featuring James Brown, and I Need Help. Bobby was also the ultimate hype man during James Brown shows. Bobby would help open up shows for James Brown before James' set, and in many ways he would help contribute to the concept of the hype man that would later on be found in hip-hop. Very similar to Flavor Flav from Public Enemy, Big DS from the Onyx, and even Vin Rock from Naughty by Nature. Bobby wasn't a dancer like James Brown at all, but he didn't need to dance in order to get his point across. He would use his southern style of gospel singing to help captivate the audience. Both Bobby and James were pretty much a match made in heaven. Bobby would soon leave James Brown in 1973 for a mixture of different issues, from him being uncredited on records and his issues with Bobby's future wife, Vicki Anderson. Bobby will release another album in 1993 called On the Move, and he never slowed down doing performances and live shows either. And after more live performances, Bobby would soon retire in 1996. Bobby's co-composing and writing would help generate the constant growing sound for hip-hop music. I Know You Got Soul would be sampled by Eric B. and Rakim in 1987 on a track called I Know You Got Soul, which ever since will become a certified hip-hop classic. The song would also be sampled by Special Ed, Public Enemy, Ice Cube, Sweet Tea, and even MCM. And the song was actually sampled about a few hundred more times after that. Sex Machine, that Bobby would also help write, will be sampled by the Fat Boys, Kumo D, A Tribe Called Quest, The Roots, Heavy D and the Boys, and even the hip-hop funkadelic Redman himself. Now, based on all of the information that I just gave, I would consider Bobby Byrd one of the forefathers of the foundation of hip-hop. But I think it's pretty messed up that he doesn't get the same kind of respect that James Brown does. But very soon in 2001, Jay-Z, who sampled Bobby's hit I'm Not to Blame from 1970 for the song You Don't Know, would be on Jay-Z's Blueprint album. And because the song You Don't Know was a successful song off of the Blueprint album, Jay-Z would give Bobby 65% of the royalties for the song since he sampled the track by Bobby Byrd. And the record The Blueprint sold over millions of copies, so yeah, you do the math. Ever since Jay-Z helped Bobby out, Bobby was able to secure a mortgage for his family's home, which actually cost about $250,000. In 2003, Bobby, his wife, and even Bobby Bennett and baby Lloyd Stallford from the famous Flames sued James Brown and Universal Music for non-payment of royalties. However, the suit was dismissed due to statute of limitations having run out. But later on, in 2007, Bobby would soon pass away at the age of 73 due to lung cancer, and he would actually pass away a year after his best friend James Brown. He took what he learned in gospel, used that in R&B and soul, and would help put all of those principles and practices into what would help make hip-hop culture. Aretha Franklin was given the name the Queen of Soul, James Brown the Godfather of Soul, Little Richard the Architect of Rock and Roll, but I would like to be the first to label Bobby as the original soul man. Thank you everybody so much for watching this video. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you guys will keep checking me out every week. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video with everybody that you know, and don't forget to leave a comment down below speaking on all of your opinions, and tell me what your favorite Bobby Byrd song is in the comments. Once again, thank you so much, and I will see you guys on the next video. Peace.